Hello F11 members and welcome to the Fundamentals of Post-Production video tutorials for issue 67, August 2017. On the screen in front of you we have an image from Westeros. You can read all about that particular shoot and indeed that trip in this month's Behind the Lens feature and watch the associated video blog. But I thought we'd work through the post-production on this image because it's quite an interesting one. And what you see is on the right, the finished product, quite a dramatic lighting situation. I was well pleased with this shot. I was I love it really. We all like rainbows, don't we? And that combination of dramatic lighting, the lovely setting there on the banks of Loch Maree, and that rainbow all helped, all really came together nicely. But you can see on the left the image which is straight out of the camera, and it's really looking quite insipid and lacking in any kind of impact. Nevertheless, in the image, in the histogram, all the information is there. I knew that when I was shooting it. I knew I could bring out that drama in the picture. And so let's work on what we've done. And essentially what I've done in Lightroom is look at the image and created two different raw conversions to be merged here in Photoshop. Just give me 1 second to open those two up and we'll talk through what I'm going to do. So here they are. On the left we have an image that has been optimized for the sky and the rainbow and the distant landscape, ignoring the foreground. Essentially I've ignored the clipping shadows that are taking place there. I've just processed the image with the sky in mind. Whereas on the right we have an image that has been processed predominantly just for the actual foreground, the trees on the bank far side of the loch and the loch itself and these piles which are foreground interest. Now I've done that working from the same original raw image. It's all one capture, and what I want to do now is piece these two raw conversions together using layer masking, a technique we have looked at many times before in these post-production video tutorials, but practice makes perfect and it's a really useful technique to master. So what am I going to do? First, I have some actions made which I find really useful for these things that I do often. And I'm going to select the dark image here and I'm going to play an action which merely selects the image, cuts and closes it. If I click on the drop down there, you can see set selection, cut and close the picture. No great shakes there. Could do it manually, but when you're doing these things in Photoshop, these actions can really speed up your workflow. So I'm going to play that action, and that just merely selects the image, cuts and closes it. Now all I do is hit Command and V, and it pastes the dark image over the brighter one underneath as a layer. Now if I bring my layers palette into the window here, you can see there's the dark image as layer 1. Click the eye off and we can't see it anymore. We can see the bright image underneath. So what I need to do is apply a layer mask which will enable me to mask the area of the image that I don't want to see, this top image, allowing me to see the dark bit, the sky, but allowing me to see the brighter bit of the foreground coming through underneath. So how do I do that? Well, I've got a action to do this, which it helps me. But first of all, I need to make my selection of the area that I want to see, i.e. where I want to apply the mask. So I hit my lasso button there And now I'm just going to paint along the edge of the tree line here, because I want to see the top of the image, the sky, the mountains, sunlit mountains there. And that's the area then that I select. Now what I'm going to do is apply a layer mask. And I've got an action here to help me, and it's called Mask 500. If I click on the drop-down menu, it feathers that selection, and then it makes a layer mask. And I'm going to do it manually so you understand what we're doing here. So if I come up, select, modify, feather, set my feather radius to 500 pixels. That means it's going to be a very soft edge. Click on OK there. Now I come up to layer mask, and I want to reveal my selection. And that's it. That's my layer mask has been made. Now if you see here in my layers palette, on the top layer, it's showing me where the mask has been applied. The black bit is hidden, is hiding the top layer, allowing the brighter bit to show through. And that's worked really well to merge those two images together. But I think we can do a little bit better. So let's just move these distracting palettes out of the frame just for a second. And now just come in on the here, just increase the size of the image I want to look at, Command plus, move this out of the way here. And what we've got here is a little bit of a dark edge to the top of the woods, just a little slightly distracting there, and also the bottom of the mountains looks a little bright as well. So I want to fine tune that selection. So bring this back in again, make sure my mask is applied there. I'm going to go to my paintbrush, and I want to basically just refine the mask here, which means actually add to the mask so that we can see a bit more of this brighter area at the top of the tree line coming through. So that means I want to add to the dark bit, add to the black bit of the mask. So as you can see here, the white indicating whether I'm painting in black or white is on top of the black. And so I need to hit my X button on my keyboard, which switches me to black. That means I'm painting in black, which will enable me to increase the actual area of the mask here at the bottom of the frame. And now I just adjust my brush size there. I'm using a graphics tablet, so I can do that with one finger, but you can, if you've not got one, you can use the square brackets on your keyboard here. Come up here to my opacity. It's relatively low at 13%, and I'm just going to paint along the top of these trees here, just making sure that we don't have any kind of telltale dark edge to the top of the trees there. You could spend all day doing this, but we're not going to. If an image takes too much time, alarm bells should start ringing, telling you that things aren't right. Either it's just not working. Most images don't take that much time to work on. That's very, very subtle adjustment I'm doing here. But now I just want to deal with that slight halo apparent at the bottom of the mountain there. So I'm going to hit X on my keyboard. And now I'm painting in white, which means I'm actually painting, making sure that the mask is not being applied so much to the bottom of the mountain here. And as you can see, as I do this, darkens down the top of the mountain, the bottom of the mountain a touch. I have to be really careful here that I'm subtle and I don't go too far with this, but nevertheless, hopefully you can see what I'm doing. Really, really subtle subtle adjustments there, just enabling me to darken down that area of the image. Now take a step back, zoom out on the image a bit, and I think that's really worked quite well. And I'm pretty pleased with this image. I'm just going to look at that background image, and I think I'm going to go for quite a dark, a bit of a moodier feel to this. So if I come here and go up to Image Adjustments, Curves, bring in my Curves palette here, and I'm just going to darken down just a touch that bottom layer, the background layer, just to make it a little bit richer, just a touch. Okay, what else do I need to do? Well, there's some annoying colored boys in the background there. I would say, when you're deciding what to take in and what to take out on a picture, it's some things really distract, others, if they're there, they're there. In this particular case, I'm going to take them out. So first thing I'm going to do is actually flatten down the image. So if I go Layer, Flatten Image, now we have just one layer there. I'm going to select my healing brush, make sure it's set to Content Aware up there, adjust my brush size, and just remove the offending boy really very easily. This one may be a little bit more difficult because it's right on the shoreline. But then again, the software is very clever and it's done it no problem. Et voila, let's zoom out. I'm very pleased with this picture, and that's that technique of using just the one capture, so it's all one image. It's got that integrity of being one capture, one moment in time. But I've used this technique of doing two different raw conversions, one for the brighter part of the image, one for the darker part, to put them together using layer masking in Photoshop. Okay, I hope that's useful. We'll be doing it again, I'm sure. In the other video tutorial this month, I'm actually working through my lowdown on workflow, in particular looking in very close detail at the importing of images into Lightroom. We will, of course, be welcoming all your suggestions as to what you'd like to see in future post-production video tutorials. Coming up, I will be looking at the technique of luminosity masking, which is something that has been asked for by UF11 members. I just need to do a bit more research and work on that, but that will be coming very soon. Thanks for your attention, and we'll look forward to hearing your suggestions and feedback.